Hello there. Normally we would be having our Christmas craft night for ladies in the church at about this time of year. You may have been to one of those events before, or you may not. We're always amazed at just how many newcomers we get each year. And it's fantastic always to see the building fantastically decorated and absolutely bursting and bustling with women catching up with one another and having a go at things that they might not have tried at home. Well, we can't do that this year for so many reasons, but we did think that we'd try and give you a little taste of the craft night at home. So we're doing these videos in the hope that you might watch and be inspired. You'll probably remember that at our craft evenings we stop about halfway through for a glass of mulled wine and a mince pie, and if you want to do that then please go ahead. And we also have somebody sharing a short Christmas talk. Well, this year, because we've got 4 different videos, we've also got 4 very short talks, and I would really encourage you to sit and listen to the stories of those 4 women. I'm so grateful to Jane and to Sashi and to Mo for being willing to take on this mad idea that I threw out in about October. Not only did they take me up on it, but they have done an incredible job in recording their own videos, and I'm so grateful to them. Normally at this point we'd give them a great big round of applause. We can't do that, but I know that you will join me in thanking them for their hard work and their time. Hello, my name is Sharon, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make some Christmas decorations using orange peel. I've chosen this for a couple of reasons. The first is I wanted to do something that was going to be really easy and use things that you would probably have around the house. I know at the moment it's really difficult to pop to the shops for anything, so it just made sense to do something with really things that you would be able to get hold of very easily. And I know that in my house at this time of year we have a lot of citrus fruits. It's great having the satsumas and tangerines and things in season, and it's fantastic to be able to use the byproducts of that. The second reason I've chosen to do this is because normally with our craft evenings in the church building we try to do things which are quite quick and which are easy to put together, and as you'll see from this craft, it's actually quite a slow craft. It will take a little bit of time, and there's some drying involved as well, and we just wouldn't be able to do that on the craft night. Also, I'm not entirely sure my family would be able to get through quite enough oranges to provide the peel for the 70 or 80 ladies who come along. It's been quite a stretch just getting enough for us. So anyway, what we're going to be using today is some citrus fruit, and as I've said, you could use oranges, or if you've got satsumas or tangerines, they come under all sorts of names these days, don't they? The main thing is to try and find ones where the skin feels quite loose from the orange inside, and you'll find out why that is in a moment. You'll also need something to cut out a shape with. A small metal cutter is fantastic. If you've got a plastic one, that's okay, so long as it's strong enough to really push through. Probably needs to be fairly small. You'll see that as we peel the oranges and get going. If you don't have metal cutters, that's fine. You could always make a template out of cardboard and then use a knife or use some scissors to cut those out. If you're really confident, then you could just do it freehand with some scissors as well. You're also going to need some thread to hang your decorations onto. I'm using the jute twine today because it gives it quite a nice natural look. But again, whatever you've got, if you've got string, if you've got some bits of old, I always end up with these kind of odd little bits of Christmas thread on rolls and things like that. And you'll also need something to make a bit of a hole with. A wooden skewer is fine, but again, if you've got a knitting needle or a metal skewer or a cocktail stick, anything like that would do just as well. So to get going, the first thing we're going to do, and actually it's probably the most fiddly part of this craft because I can't stress enough how easy this craft is to get the rind off the orange. Now, if you're using a satsuma, it's fairly straightforward. What you want to do is try and peel it in a way that gives you as much whole piece of skin as you can. We've been having a challenge in our house. I've just kind of left a bowl near the fruit bowl and encouraged people to sort of have a go at trying to get it all off in as big a piece as possible. I'm probably going to fail spectacularly today doing this because I'm doing it in front of a camera, but basically just kind of ease it off and try and pull the inside fruit off like that, so that basically you've got a really nice biggish piece of peel that's in one piece. If you're using an orange, this was a revelation to me, I must confess, being the age I am, that I've got through life and not known this trick. But if you score an orange all the way around the middle, try not to cut through into the flesh. And I've already done the first half, but I'll show you how easy it is. You then just take a spoon and push it in all the way around. And if you keep doing that all the way around, then it sort of comes off eventually, she says, nearly there, a bit like a cap. So you've got a really nice clean area, and then what you can do to make an area to do your cutting out on, because you can see that's going to be big enough for 2 or maybe 3, is just take your scissors and snip it into those sorts of sections, a bit like that. And it doesn't matter if they're a bit bent at the moment because we'll push those down. So once you've got some peel to work with, it's so easy. You're just going to take your cutter and then stamp. I haven't done this one fantastically, so actually I'm probably only going to get maybe 1 out of that, but I'm sure if you sat down and really thought about it. So I'm just pushing my cutter through and I end up with my star, and you can always trim off the little extra bits around it. I'll show you with the orange peel. I'm just going to flatten that out. This is a bit thicker, so you just need a bit more strength to get through it, and put all my considerable weight behind it. And again, just pull it out like that. So once you've got your little stars or your shapes or whatever you're cutting them out as, you could just do little circles with no cup or something. You're just going to poke a hole in all the way through, which is where the string is going to go. Make sure it's really well through. I'm going to do that with this one as well. And then this is where patience and time takes over, because once you've done some of these, you then need to put them somewhere to dry. Now how you do that is entirely up to you. I've got a wire rack here, and frankly it's just really quite easy to lay some of these on there and just leave them for a day or 2 in the warmth of your kitchen. If you want them to go a bit quicker, then when you've had your oven on for something and you've taken out and it's kind of cooling down, you could always put those into a fairly coolish oven just to dry off. Or even if you've got a grill above your oven, you could put them in the grill bit without switching it on, and it just get the warmth of the oven. What I did find when I tried doing that with the very thin skins of the tangerines and things, is that they can get a bit crispy and a little bit brittle. So just beware that you can make them a bit fragile if you try to dry them too quickly. And sometimes it's best just to let nature take its course. So I'm going to put those over there because they're not ready to use yet. But in good Blue Peter fashion, if I clear the decks, I do have some that I've made earlier. So I've got a few of these, and you can see as they dry, they get sort of quite crispy. They sort of sometimes dry up into quite strange shapes, but that doesn't matter. I think it just adds to the really nice rustic feel of it. And then what I'm going to do is I've got a thread, a fairly longish thread, because you can always trim it afterwards. I've got my needle threaded. You'll need a fairly good needle. A quick tip, if you find threading it quite difficult, is if you just pop the end in something like some clear nail varnish or even coloured nail varnish, or you can even wrap it with a tiny bit of sellotape just to make it stiff. That sometimes makes it go through the needle a bit better. And then all you're going to do, it's so easy, is just thread them on. That's why we had the hole as they were drying, because it would be quite tricky to do that now. I'm just going to take it, leave a bit of space for tying it up, and then just make a knot. And oops. And then I'll leave a bit of a space and do the next one. You don't need to do a double knot, a single knot seems to hold it just as well. And at this point you could almost thread anything else on. If you've got some evergreen leaves, some bay leaves or something in the garden that you wanted to intersperse it with, then you could use those. I haven't tried this with other citrus fruit like lemon and lime, but that might work, I don't know. And with these, I'm making this into a garland, but equally you could just do a single one to hang, a bit like I've got there, or you could just use them without the holes and pop them into your flower arrangements or your table decorations, because up against the green foliage they'd look really quite nice. So I'm just going to do one more there because I think you get the idea. If you're really accurate and you want to space them out properly, you can do that. So that's what it's looking like so far, and then you can just play around as you hang them up to make sure that they're all facing the right way. And obviously these are not going to last forever, but the fantastic thing is at the end of Christmas you can take them off, and most of that will recycle quite nicely. I'd probably put this on my compost heap, snip it up. I know the jury's out on using too much citrus, but I think because most of the oil will have dried out of these, I think they'll compost down quite well. But anyway, that's how you do that. If you want to, for an added extra bit of sparkle, I've got some bottle lights here. You can get strings of fairy lights really easily now, and very thin and subtle, and you could just wrap those in around it as well as you hang it up. Well, I hope that you have a go at that, and I hope it gives you some inspiration to try lots of other things as well. I think what makes Christmas special to me probably comes from one of my earliest childhood memories. I must have been really quite a small child, and I remember creeping into our front room one evening, which we didn't go in every day. It was the room that had the Christmas tree in, and I remember just going into the darkness and seeing the tree lit up. And I was just mesmerised, partly by the lights, but also just by the sense of peace. I just felt an incredible sense of peace as I just gazed at that sight. And it wasn't just a peace that came from the room being quiet. And I've never forgotten that. Now, as I've grown up, both of those things, that sense of light and that sense of peace, have stayed with me and make Christmas really special. I still love Christmas lights. I don't think you can really ever have quite enough. And I love putting them around my house, but I also love seeing them on other people's. So there's something about the way that they sparkle and shine in the darkest nights of winter, which seem to really speak out hope and comfort. And I don't think it's any accident that one of the pictures that the Bible uses for Christmas is that sense of light coming into the world. I don't know if you've noticed, but sometimes the darker, the more intense the darkness, the more a light shines. And in one of the Christmas stories, Jesus is described as the light of the world. He's described as a light coming into the darkness. And I think when we've had a year like this, more than ever, that sense that there is hope, there is comfort, somebody has come into our dark world to bring us a future, is fantastic. There's a little bit in one of the Gospels in John that says, the light shines in the darkness and the darkness has not overcome it. And I know that in my life that has been so true. But also there's that sense of peace. And again, that might seem odd coming from somebody who lives in a vicarage, and as you can probably imagine, at Christmas our house is quite bustling. There's people coming and going, there's lists of all sorts of things that need to be in the right place at the right time, and who needs to be where and when, and fitting everything around it. And yet even then I have a tradition where I really find some incredible peace. I banish everybody else from the kitchen at about 3 o'clock, just before 3 o'clock. On Christmas Eve afternoon, I get all my vegetables out and I have the radio set ready. And for me, Christmas starts about 3 o'clock on Christmas Eve afternoon, when I stand there poised with my peeler and I hear the first verses of Once in Lord David's City coming from the 9 Lessons and Carols. And again, I get that overwhelming sense of peace. And it's a peace that comes not from everything else around me, the circumstances I'm in, necessarily being calm and still, but it's a sense that deep down inside me, I have a presence that is calm and still. we've had such an incredible year, haven't we? Who would have thought it this time last year? And yet, even amidst the chaos and the turbulence and the uncertainty that's been going on, I know that for a lot of Christians, there's still been that sense of peace that comes not from everything else that's going on around us, but from the Holy Spirit, that Jesus living inside of us. Lots of people have been looking for that this year and wondering about how to get it. And if that's you, then I'd really encourage you to talk to the person who told you about these videos, or to maybe have a look on our church website and watch back some of the other services, or just get in touch. We'd love to hear from you. Well, however and wherever you're watching this and celebrating Christmas this year, I really hope that it is very special for you, and I hope that you can have a peaceful and a joyful time.